Jack lived alone near the edge of the red forest on the alien planet. Varela 7. The sky here was purple during the day and dark green at night. He had come here years ago to escape the noise of Earth. He wasn't a soldier, not a scientist, just a quiet man who liked peace. His home was a small shelter made from metal scraps and wood. No neighbors, no friends. Only the sound of wind and alien birds outside. To survive, Jack hunted. He built traps to catch wild beasts that roamed the forest. These creatures had sharp teeth and 6 legs, and some could even climb trees. One of his traps was placed near the southern edge of his camp-a-strong rope net that would lift anything heavy into the air when triggered. One night, the alarm beeped. It was a soft sound, but in the silence of the forest, it felt like thunder. Jack opened his eyes and grabbed his flashlight and plasma rifle. Another beast, he thought. Maybe something big this time. He walked slowly toward the trap. The wind blew gently, and strange glowing insects flew past his face. As he got closer, he saw the net was shaking. Something was caught inside, but it wasn't growling, it wasn't roaring, it was crying. Jack stopped. He lowered his flashlight and stepped forward. Hanging in the net, tangled in ropes, was a small alien girl. Her skin was soft blue. Her eyes were large, glowing like moonlight. Her hair was silver and messy. Her arms were thin. Her legs were scratched and bleeding. She looked at Jack and screamed, "Please, don't eat me." Jack froze. His rifle almost fell from his hands. "What?" he whispered. The girl continued to scream and cry. Her words were broken, as if she had learned human language from a bad translator. "I am small. No meat. Let go, please. Please." Jack quickly dropped his weapon and stepped closer, hands in the air. Hey. I'm not going to hurt you," he said gently. She didn't believe him. Her body shook with fear. Her silver hair stuck to her cheeks, wet with tears. Jack could see the marks on her arms, bruises, burns, cuts. Someone had hurt her before. This trap. It was for monsters, Jack said, more to himself than to her. Not for children. Carefully, he cut the rope holding the net. She dropped into his arms, light as a feather. She kicked and tried to run, but her leg gave out. She fell to the ground, curling up, covering her head with her arms. Jack knelt beside her. "I'm not your enemy. You're safe now." The alien girl looked up at him with confused, teary eyes. She seemed more shocked by his calm voice than anything else. "No eat?" she asked. Jack shook his head. "No eat." She blinked. Slowly, her breathing calmed, but her body was still tense. Jack picked her up again, gently this time. She didn't fight. Maybe she was too weak. Or maybe. A small part of her believed him. He brought her to his shelter. The lights flickered as the door opened. Inside, it was warm. Simple, a bed, a heater, and a small table. Jack placed her on the softest blanket he had and brought a bowl of water. She stared at the water like it was poison. Jack took a sip to show her it was safe. Then, slowly, she drank. "I'm Jack," he said, sitting beside her. "You don't have to talk, but if you do, I'll listen." The girl looked around the room. Her eyes studied every corner like a trapped animal. Finally, she whispered a name. "Mila." Jack smiled softly. "Mila? That's a beautiful name." She looked away, biting her lip, her eyes still full of fear. Jack didn't ask questions. Not yet. He gave her space, warm food, and a blanket. He watched her fall asleep sitting up, back against the wall, like she was ready to run if needed. That night, Jack couldn't sleep. Who was she? Why was she alone in the forest? Who had hurt her so badly that she feared being eaten? And most of all, what kind of people would treat a child like that? He didn't have answers. But one thing was clear in his heart. This wasn't just a rescue. This was the start of something big, and Jack was now part of it. The early morning light on Varela 7 painted the forest in a soft blue glow. Jack sat beside his small stove, heating up leftover meat stew. The strange alien fireberries he'd collected gave off a sweet smell as they boiled. He wasn't thinking about breakfast, though. His eyes kept glancing at the alien girl Milla, still curled up like a frightened animal on the corner bed. She hadn't moved much through the night. Even while sleeping, her body had remained stiff, her arms still wrapped around her knees. Jack had given her space. But now he had questions. Questions burning in his mind. Who was she? Why was she running? And why did she think humans eat her kind? He placed the steaming bowl of stew on the table. The smell filled the shelter. Mila's eyes opened slowly. She sniffed the air. Her stomach growled loud and painful, but still. She didn't move. Jack picked up a small wooden spoon and took a bite in front of her. Double quotes, see. Not poisoned, he said gently. She blinked, her eyes dropped to the bowl. Her hands trembled. Then, slowly, like a wild creature testing the air. For danger, she slid off the bed and crawled forward. She didn't ask, she didn't speak. She simply sat and stared. Jack pushed the bowl closer. She snatched it, held it like a treasure, and began to eat fast. Like it might vanish at any second, Jack watched in silence. He didn't speak, he didn't stop her. He just sat with her, letting her know she was not alone. After a few minutes, Mila slowed down. Her face softened. She wiped her lips and looked up. Double quotes, ... You share, she whispered, voice shaking. Why? Lick. Jack leaned back in his chair. No one should go hungry, he said. Not here. Not anywhere. She blinked again, confused, as if such kindness was foreign to her. No payment? She asked. No touch. Jack's jaw tightened. What? She hesitated. Others, they give food, but want something bad. Jack felt a cold anger rise in his chest. What kind of monsters had she met before him? He shook his head firmly. I don't want anything from you. Just eat, and stay safe. Mila didn't believe it at first, but her shoulders dropped, just a little. For the first time, she sat without. Trembling, Jack grabbed a small blanket and draped it around her. She didn't flinch. That was a good sign. Do you know where your family is? He asked softly. Mila's lips moved, then stopped. She looked at the floor, then shook her head. Gone, sold. Long time ago. Jack's heart sank. He didn't press further, not yet. Instead, he brought a second bowl of food and began to eat with her. Two strangers sharing breakfast like quiet travelers outside. The wind rustled the leaves. The sounds of strange birds echoed in the distance. Suddenly, Mila froze. Her ears twitched. Jack hadn't noticed before, but her ears were slightly pointed and moved when she focused. She turned her head toward the door. What is it? Jack asked. She whispered. Her eyes locked onto the entrance. Something coming. Jack stood up slowly and grabbed his rifle. He stepped outside. Nothing, just silence. He scanned the area, checked the trap, the sensors, the trees. No movement. He returned inside. False alarm, he said. Just the wind. But Mila wasn't. Convinced, she had curled up again, her food bowl untouched now. They always find, she said softly. They always track. Who? Jack asked. She looked at him with eyes full of fear. The hunters, she whispered. They play a game. I was the game. Jack's heart thudded in his chest. What kind of game? They pay to hunt. They release girls like me. we run. They chase. If we run long enough, we win freedom. But no one ever wins. Jack sat down. This wasn't just cruelty. This was organized evil. You escaped. He asked. She nodded. I was small, slipped through pipes, hid in trash. But now, they smell me. They follow me. I heard their flyers yesterday. If you keep me, you will die too. Jack looked straight at her. Well, he said, voice firm, then I guess I'll die standing up. Mila stared at him, shocked. No one says that, she whispered. I just did. For the first time, her lips curled into something that almost looked like a smile, but her eyes still held fear. I don't want you to die. Then we'll have to make sure I don't. They sat quietly for a while. The air between them had changed. Jack didn't see an alien anymore. He saw a girl who had been hunted, a girl who had been hurt, and now needed someone to stand between her and the monsters. That night, Jock added more sensors to the roof and buried 2 new traps near the door because if the hunters were coming, he'd be ready. The sky over Varela 7 turned red-orange as the sun dipped low. Jack stood at the edge of his shelter, staring into the thick, alien forest. His hand rested on the handle of his plasma rifle, but his mind was somewhere else. Inside, Mila slept. Curled up under 2 blankets, her breathing was slow and steady now. She looked peaceful finally, but Jack knew it wouldn't last. Because something was coming. He didn't know when, but he could feel it. Like the quiet before a sandstorm. Earlier that day, the motion sensor had picked up something strange, a small pulse from the north, then silence. Too small to be a beast. Too exact to be wind. Drones, maybe? Jack had crushed one of those years ago when a traitor tried spying on him. But these weren't traitors. These were hunters, not here for wild creatures. Not here for meat or money. They were here for her, and they were going to regret stepping on his land. As night fell, Jack worked quietly. He placed 3 new tripwire traps in the trees. He activated his old defense grid, a series of metal spikes that could pop out around his shelter. He also turned off all lights. He didn't want them seeing the girl through a window. But while working, he noticed something strange. Boot prints, fresh. Not his, not hers. And too close to his camp, Jack froze. Someone had already been here. He rushed back inside, locking the steel door. Mila was awake. Her eyes snapped open the moment he entered. Her body tensed again. Is it them? She whispered. Jack nodded slowly. Someone's close. Very close. She sat up, fear in her voice. They smell. They scan. They hide eyes in the sky. Eyes. In the sky. Jack frowned. Drones, small, fast. They fly without sound. Jack cursed under his breath. That's what the motion ping was earlier. They had already found her. They were watching. An hour passed. The night was silent, but not peaceful. It was the kind of silence that made the hair on your arms stand up. Jack checked his perimeter again. Everything looked untouched until he saw a small flashing light at the edge of a tree. He moved closer and found a camouflaged drone, the size of a tennis ball wedged between branches. It had already scanned the camp and was beaming data too. Someone else. Jack crushed it with the butt of his rifle. Too late, they knew she was here, back inside. Mila was pacing the room. Do you want me gone? She asked suddenly. If I run, they chase me? Not you. Jack turned toward her. Where will you go? She didn't answer. He walked over, kneeling in front of her. You ran once. You survived. That was brave. But this time, you're not. Alone, Mila's eyes filled with tears. They take girls, not just for hunt. Sometimes, worse. Jack's heart twisted. He didn't ask for details. He didn't want to know more than she could bear, but his voice was strong. "I won't let them take you. Not ever." Just then, the alarm beeped again. Jack checked. The screen something was moving through the trees. Big, heavy, multiple. Life forms, he grabbed his gear and turned to Mila. "Hide in the floor hatch," he ordered. "You'll be safe down there." Mila hesitated. "What about you?" Jack gave her a sharp look. "Don't argue. Hide." She obeyed. He closed the hatch just as the outer motion light flickered on. Shapes were moving outside. Through the tiny cracks in the steel door, Jack saw 3 figures tall, armored, and wearing glowing visors. They weren't soldiers. Their armor was painted with alien blood symbols. Their weapons sharp and curved. One of them raised a scanner and pointed it at the shelter. "He's got her," a voice crackled through the air in broken English. Inside, the second one laughed. "Poor Earthman doesn't know who we are." Jack did something they didn't expect. He opened the door, just a crack, just enough to show his face. He didn't shout. He didn't plead. He simply said, "She's not going with you." The leader raised his weapon. "She is not yours to protect, human. She belongs to the hunt." Jack's eyes narrowed. "No, she belongs to herself." The second hunter grinned. "Then we'll take her from your cold body." Jack closed the door quietly and whispered, "Try it." Back in the hatch, Mila heard the sound of boots thumping. Then silence. Then the sudden boom of an explosion outside. She covered her ears, shaking. Tears streamed down her cheeks. But then she heard something even louder, Jack's voice, shouting, and hunter screams echoing in the forest. Smoke curled through the air outside Jack's shelter. 2 of the hunters lay motionless, caught in Jack's hidden spike trap. The third had escaped, but not without injury. Jack had shot him through the leg before he vanished into the trees. Inside, Jack dropped his rifle and locked the door behind him. His breathing was heavy, but his hands were steady. He turned toward the hatch. "It's safe," he said softly. "Come out." There was a pause. Then the door creaked open. Mila crawled out slowly, eyes wide, body shaking. "You fought them?" Jack nodded. "They're not as scary when they're screaming and bleeding." She stared at him with a mix of fear and awe. "No one fights them. No one ever fights them." "Well," Jack said, leaning back, "maybe no one tried hard enough." Mila sat down near the wall. Her small fingers played with the corner of the blanket. She looked like she wanted to say something, but didn't know if she should. Jack noticed. "You can talk to me," he said gently. "No rush, just truth." Mila bit her lip. Then, after a moment, she began to speak. "I was taken, not born. In forest, not born to run." Jack listened closely. "My mother worked on the mining moons. She cleaned machines. She owed money. They told her she could clear her debt. She gave them something precious." Jack's stomach tightened. He already knew what that meant. "She gave me." Mila didn't cry. Not now. Her voice was cold, empty, like she had told herself this story 100 times just to survive. "They said I was pretty, unique, rare species mix. My ears, my eyes, they liked it." Jack clenched his fists. "They took me to a place called Blood Trail Arena. Big, rich aliens come. Watch girls run. Bet on who survives longest. Some girls last a day, some hours. Some—" She stopped. Jack didn't interrupt. "They drop us in zones. Forest, snow, even lava tunnels. They film it, sell it, for fun." "You escaped," Jack said quietly. "I did, through a drain pipe. I was small. They didn't think I could squeeze through." She looked at her hands. "I ran for weeks, hid in trash, ate bugs, until your trap." Jack remembered that moment now with even more weight. He hadn't just caught a girl in his net, he had caught someone running from hell. "You're not their property," he said finally. Mila looked up. "They say I am. They have my name, my number. I am branded." She pulled her shirt slightly. To the side, Jack saw it. A small black mark burned into her skin. A number. A code. He turned away quickly, not wanting her to see the rage in his eyes. "No one owns you," he said. Not while I'm breathing." Mila tilted her head. "Why? Do you care? You're just a human. Most humans work with them. Sell girls. Buy games." Jack stood and opened a metal box from the corner of the room. Inside was a faded photo. Young girl with black hair, smiling at the camera. "My daughter," he said. "Quietly, she died. Long ago, on Earth. A virus." Mila looked at the photo. Then at him. "I couldn't protect her," Jack said. "But maybe. I can protect you." She said nothing for a long time. Then she walked across the room and placed her small hand over his. "Then I'll protect you too." Jack looked down. And for the first time since he came to this planet, he smiled. That night, Jack stayed up, watching the forest through his scope. Mila slept beside the heater. This time fully stretched out, not curled like prey. But Jack knew this wasn't over. The Blood Trail Club didn't stop. They didn't forget. And the one hunter who escaped would bring more. He needed a plan, because next time they wouldn't just come to take her, they'd come to kill him too. He scribbled a message on his datapad. An emergency code only a few old war friends knew. He hadn't contacted them in years, but now he needed help. Far away on a dusty outpost orbiting Varela 7, a woman in black armor looked down at the blinking message on her comlink. "Jack," she whispered. She stood up quickly. Looks like trouble found him again. And with that, she turned toward her ship. The wind howled louder that night, not from nature, but from the sound of engines above the trees. Jack stepped outside with his rifle strapped to his back, staring at the faint red lights moving in the sky. They circled silently, like vultures, waiting for a corpse to fall. They had returned, and this time they came prepared. Inside, Mila sat cross-legged on the floor. Her eyes were calm, but her hands couldn't stop trembling. She had seen this before, the quiet moments before the screaming began. Jack entered and locked the door behind him. 4 drones, he said. 2 patrol ships. Ground forces will be next. She nodded. They don't stop. They won't. "Have to," Jack replied, loading a clip into his rifle. "Because I'm going to stop them first." Mila stood. "You can't fight them all." "I don't plan to," Jack answered. "I'm going to hunt them." Her eyes widened. He walked over to the table and laid out a dusty metal case. Inside were tools and weapons. Some illegal, all deadly. Grenades, pulse mines, motion scramblers. Things from Jack's past life. A life he had buried until now. "You were a soldier," she whispered. Jack didn't answer. He didn't have to. At sunrise, the Blood Trail Club landed. Their dropship touched down half a mile from Jack's camp. The tall grass flattened beneath its heat. Out came 6 elite hunters. They wore sleek armor with red sigils and skulls painted on their chests. Each carried a weapon forged for a kill, not war, not defense, but a show. Every move they made was broadcasted live to rich alien spectators watching from orbit. One of the hunters, a tall creature with snake-like eyes and a cybernetic jaw, hissed, "The girl's heat trail leads here. He's hiding her." Another one clicked his claws. "We make example. Kill him slow." They didn't know what Jack had prepared. They didn't know they were walking into his trap. 2 hours later, the lead hunter stepped near a strange pile of bones deliberately placed in the grass. He bent down, scanning it, and triggered the mine. Boom! A blast threw him 5 feet into the air. The rest of the team scattered. One fell into a Kamanit pit, breaking his leg. Another was hit with an electric wire trap, screaming as volts paralyzed his armor. From the trees above, Jack opened fire. His first shot took out a hunter's helmet. His second pierced a shoulder. Then silence. He moved like a ghost through the woods, fast, efficient, unseen. Mila watched from the shelter, through a crack in the door. She had never seen anyone fight like this, clean, silent, not for fun, but to protect her. Meanwhile, in orbit, the Blood Trail Club director watched the live stream from the comfort of his private suite. He leaned back in his floating chair, frowning at the loss of 2 hunters. "This human's interfering with our sport," he grunted. His assistant nodded. "Should we recall them?" the director snarled. "No. Double the price. Let the audience see real pain." He clicked a button. "Send in the Flameborn." Back in the forest, Jack reloaded behind a rock. 3 down. 3 still out there. Then the sky lit up red. A second dropship arrived, sleek, black, with fire painted on its wings, and from it stepped a monster, 10 feet tall, clad in black and red, armored, a legend among hunters. The Flameborn, he wasn't here for sport, he was here for blood. Inside the shelter, Mila suddenly froze. Her body shook. She looked toward the sky and whispered, "They sent him." Jack entered and saw her face. "Who is he?" he asked. She didn't blink. "The one they send, when all others fail." Jack looked outside. The trees were burning in the distance. The Flameborn was walking through fire like it was air. Jack knelt beside Mila. "I can't fight that alone." She looked at him, confused. "Then what?" He opened the hatch beneath the floor again. "You're not staying here?" "I'm not leaving you." Jack shook his head. "This isn't a fight for survival anymore. It's a war. You've done enough running. Now, it's my turn to finish it." She touched his arm. "I'm not afraid anymore." Jack smiled. "But I am," he said. "Of losing you?" As Mila crawled into the tunnel below, tears in her eyes, Jack sealed it behind her. Outside, the ground shook. The Flameborn was getting close. Jack stood tall. No more traps, no more hiding. Just a man, a rifle, and a reason to fight. And this time, the hunter had become the hunted. The trees were on fire. The forest around Jack's shelter burned bright orange, and smoke climbed into the violet sky of Varela 7. But Jack didn't step back. He stood just outside his shelter, rifle in, hand armor tight to his chest. His face was covered in dust and sweat, but his eyes were locked on the giant figure walking through the flames. The Flameborn, 10 feet tall, shoulders like metal walls, face hidden behind a black mask with burning red eyes. Each step he took left glowing footprints in the ground. In his hand, he carried a weapon that looked like a blade and a flamethrower combined. Jack aimed, fired. The bullet bounced off the Flameborn's chest like a rock hitting a tank. "Typical." Jack muttered. The Flameborn raised one heavy arm and fired a burst of fire straight toward Jack. Jack dove to the side, rolled behind a tree, and sprinted deeper into the forest. He needed space. He needed time. But the Flameborn wasn't chasing him like a normal fighter. He was walking slowly, calmly, as if this was just another show. Another performance, because to him, it was. Below the shelter, Mila moved quietly through the escape tunnel. It was narrow, lined with soil and wood. Her hands shook. Her breath was fast. She had promised to stay hidden, but something inside her screamed he was going to die. She reached the end of the tunnel and pushed open the hidden door that led to the forest's edge. Crawling out, she looked toward the smoke in the distance. Then, she heard the explosion. Her heart dropped. She ran. Jack was hurt. He'd taken a hit to the shoulder after a flying piece of debris knocked him into a tree. His left arm was bleeding. His breath was short. He crouched behind a thick root wall, watching the Flameborn move slowly toward him. No more tricks. Human, the Flameborn growled, his voice like thunder. Give me the girl. You die fast. Jack coughed and smiled. I'm not dying fast, either way, am I? The Flameborn laughed. You are amusing, but useless. He raised his weapon again. This time Jack had nowhere to run. The fire roared. The Flameborn fired, and just before the flames could reach Jack, Mila leaped between them. The blast hit her small body and threw her back into Jack's arms. He caught her. His eyes widened. She was burned. Smoke curled from her shirt. Her face was twisted in pain, but she smiled weakly. I said, I would protect you, too. Jack screamed. Not from pain, from rage. He set Mila down gently behind the root wall, then stood up. He didn't feel his wounds anymore. He didn't hear the fire. All he saw was the monster who had hurt her. And he ran toward him. The Flameborn fired again, but Jack dodged this time. He closed the gap fast, faster than the creature expected. He pulled the pin from a thermal charge on his belt, basked, and slapped it straight onto the Flameborn's chest. The hunter tried to rip it off, but it was too late. Boom. The blast shook the forest. Trees snapped. Fire burst outward. The Flameborn fell backward. Armor cracked. One side of his mask gone. His real face, Hephalian, half machine, was exposed now. Blood poured from his mouth. You, a Dasp. You're just human. Jack stood over him, panting. No, I'm her human. He raised his rifle and ended it. Minutes later, the flames were dying. Jack carried Mila in his arms, moving back toward the shelter. Her eyes were open, but barely. You didn't stay hidden, he whispered. She gave a weak grin. Didn't listen. Sorry, you saved my life. You saved mine. First, Jack placed her gently on the bed. Her burns were bad, but not deep. He poured cooling serum over her wounds, wrapped her arm, and cleaned the ash from her face. Then, he sat beside her, silent. The girl who had once feared him, once believed he would eat her, had just taken a shot meant for him. She wasn't just brave, she was family, far above the planet. The Blood Trail Club's feed went dark. The rich aliens screamed in protest, but their leader stood frozen. A human had killed the Flameborn. No one had done that before, not even other hunters. For the first time in years, fear entered the heart of a man who had made a living off the pain of others. He turned off the stream and began to plan revenge. Back on Varela 7, Jack watched Mila sleep. Outside, the fires were dying, but inside, something new had begun. Not just survival, a bond, one he would protect with his life. Because she wasn't a creature anymore, she was his, and she had just proven he was hers too. Days passed since the forest burned. The air still smelled of smoke, and the ground was covered in ash. Trees stood like black skeletons, and the silence was thick. But inside Jack's small shelter, there was warmth. Mila lay resting under 3 soft blankets, her skin healing slowly. Jack sat beside her with a wet cloth, gently wiping the sweat from her forehead. Her burns were no longer raw. The color had returned to her cheeks, but her eyes hadn't opened in 2 days. Jack didn't sleep, didn't eat, didn't move far from her side. He blamed himself. He had told her to hide. He had told her to run. But she had stepped into fire to save him. Now all he could do was wait. Outside, the trees began to whisper again. Not from wind, but from movement. A ship descended slowly through the thick smoke, landing gently on the ground. its wings folded like a bird resting after flight. A woman stepped out, tall, strong, her armor dark gray, marked with a red cross. On the shoulder, Jack, she called. Jack opened the door, rifle raised, then he saw her and lowered it at once. "Commander Voss," he said, "you've got my signal." I was halfway across the sector. Dropped everything. Jack stepped aside. "She needs help." Commander Voss entered the shelter and gasped softly when she saw Mila. "She's just a child," she whispered. Jack nodded, and they nearly killed her. Just for sport. Voss kneeled beside Mila and opened her medkit. "You saved her." Jack paused. "She saved me first." 6 hours later, Mila opened her eyes. She blinked up at the ceiling, confused. Then turned her head and saw Jack beside her. "You're alive," she whispered. Jack smiled. "You made sure of that." She weakly reached for his hand. He took it gently. "Mila," he said, voice low, "you never have to run again." Tears filled her eyes. "Promise. I swear it." Commander Voss walked in, carrying a mug of warm broth. Mila sat up slowly, her burns bandaged, her hair neatly brushed. "This is Commander Voss," Jack said. "She's an old friend, a good one." Voss smiled at Mila and gave her the cup. "You're safe now. We're going to make sure no one ever hurts you again." Mila sipped the broth, her hands still trembling slightly. "What about the hunters?" she asked as Voss looked at Jack. "We've already uploaded evidence from your drone feeds. That Club Blood trail, they've broken 100 galactic laws. They won't stop," Jack warned. Voss nodded. "That's why we've already marked them as enemies of the Accord. A task force is coming. Their games are over." Mila said nothing for a moment, then whispered, "No other girls should be hunted." Voss placed a hand on her shoulder. "We'll find them, and we'll bring them home." Mila's eyes filled again, but this time with hope. That evening, Jack sat with Mila outside the shelter. The stars above were brighter now, clearer. Without smoke, a soft breeze passed, and for the first time, Mila didn't flinch. "Do you want to leave this planet?" Jack asked. "Voss can take you somewhere better. A place with schools, with kids your age." Mila looked up at him. "Will you come?" Jack paused. "I thought you might want to be with others like you." She shook her head. "I don't want others like me. I want the one who gave me soup, a bed, a blanket, a name." Jack's eyes softened. "I want to stay," she said quietly. "With you?" Jack nodded. "Then this is your home." Mila leaned against him, head on his shoulder. "I thought you would eat me," she whispered. Jack chuckled. "Remember, you didn't?" "No," he said softly. "I fed you instead." She closed her eyes, and that's how I knew I was safe. Weeks later, the forest began to heal. New green leaves pushed through ash. Strange alien flowers bloomed in colors Mila had never seen before. Birds returned to the trees. Life always found a way. So did love. Jack and Mila built a new part of the shelter, one with windows, paint, and her own bed. She decorated it with wild feathers and shells she found near the river. Sometimes she had nightmares. But now, someone was always there to hold her hand. Sometimes she cried. But now, there was someone to listen. And sometimes she laughed loudly. Brightly dot because now she had someone to laugh with. Far away. The Blood Trail Club's base was destroyed by joint military forces. Screens shattered. Ships were seized. And cages were broken. Girls like Mila walked out into the light for the first time but free, because one girl had escaped, because one human had cared, and because one bond had changed everything. Final line, she had thought the human would eat her. But he gave her something no one else ever had: a place to belong, a name that meant something, and a heart that never gave up on her. She was home.